Welcome back to our fifth lesson on Google Sheets. In this lesson, we are going to learn about sum, count, count A, and count unique. Well, these are basically some important functions you need to know about in Google Spreadsheet or Google Sheet. So without any further ado, let's just jump into the lesson of Google Sheet and open up Google Sheets. Well, we are back on our same, let's say the same data analysis table which we had in our previous lesson. So now, first things first, we're going to learn about the sum function. Well, if you've seen our previous lesson, you already have the idea about how the sum function works. It basically sums up the exact amount or exact range of data, or the specific amount of data which you put in a specific cell or in a specific range. Now, so if we already know, we're going to just type sum and then select the specific value or select the specific range and close up the parentheses. Well, we will basically get our whole result. Now, what if I want a whole result altogether, or let's say sum all? Okay, so basically we already have a couple of filter options, and then we have this create chart and all of those, but we're not going to make any chart in this lesson. But instead we're going to do some important functions which Google Sheets has to offer. So the first things first, when you want to select all of the data all together, first thing is that you have to know a couple of shortcuts. So if you have to select all, Control Shift and down key, so that it will select all the cells all together. Now you can already get a sum, okay? Now this is the sum of the exact value. Now if I type in equal sum and then select the whole cell, you can see H3 to H251, which is already selected. Just click on it and you will get the exact value. So this is basically how you can sum all of it all together. But first off, you have to select the specific cells, whichever one you want. If you want this one, let's say I'm going to type in equal sum and then G3 to G251, select all of it, and then you have it. So whenever you start typing anything or any command in Google Sheets, it's going to suggest you a couple of commands which are basically being used or is used. Okay, so now you know how you will be able to get the specific sum of a specific range of data. Now let's go to our another function, which is called the count function. So what the count does is basically count the exact amount of data, or let's say the amount of cells which is being used. Let's say I'm going to type in equal, I'm going to type in count. When you type in count, you can select the value H3, or you can select the whole cell, Control Shift down, and then select or close the parentheses and hit on enter. And you'll basically see it is 249 cells are being used. Let's say I'm going to remove one of them, delete, remove two of them. I can see they are being deducted from the actual answers because now there's no data in those cell. Now if I use count over here, so let's say I'm going to type in equal count. I'm going to do is use this value. Now hit on enter. I can see all of them are 0 because basically there are no data in those specific cells. Okay, so now you know how the count function works in Google Sheets. Okay, and you also use the same process in Microsoft Excel to get the exact amount of result. Now we are done with this count function in Google Sheets. Now the next function we're going to work with is going to be the count A function. So we already worked with count. So what is the difference between count A and count? Basically, the count A function helps you to find out the average of the cells being used, or the cells that have the data inside of it. But when you use count, it gives you all of the values, are, let's say, the total value of the cells being used in an exact range. So let's just type in equal and type in count A, and then select all the values, Control Shift, and at the bottom hit on enter, and you can still see it's 249. It's 249 because it is still using the average value, which is the count A. But let me show you another method of how you'll be able to use the count A method in Google Sheets. So what we're going to do over here is going to be removing or adding in a couple of things. What I'm going to do is take this Control X, and I'm going to do is paste it over here. I'm going to take this value, Control X, Control X, and then paste it right over here. Okay, I'm going to remove a couple of things in between. Let's say I'm going to remove 2 of these. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is going to be typing in equal and then typing in count. Okay, and here what I'm going to do is going to be selecting from here to here. Okay, I'm going to closing off the parentheses and hit on enter. You can see it is giving me 1 because this is 1 at a time. Okay, so as you can see, this is 1 when I use just count. Okay, now what if I use count A over here? Count A. Now I'm going to use this value New York over here, and then I'm going to use comma, and then use the second value, which is 3,700 in this. Okay, now I'm going to do is close with the parentheses, hit on enter. You can see it has given me 2 because there are 2 types of values over here. One is alphabets and one is numerical. So that is why count and count A is a bit different from how you expect it to be. Okay, so this is basically the difference of count and count A in Google Sheets or eventually spreadsheets, whichever spreadsheet software you're using. Now let's move on to our next function, which we are going to learn, which is called the count unique. This is a bit more different function than, let's say first off, I'm going to do is going to be making an arrange name. Okay, now first off, I'm going to do is press on Control Z so that I can put in the names of them. Okay, let's say here I'm going to put in SYDNY, Sydney. Okay, now here what I'm going to do is going to be selecting the cell, Control Shift, and at the bottom. Now first of all, I'm going to be making a filter, or what we call is, let's say we're going to make a data validation over here or name this range. Now if you want to name this range, you have to go to data. Okay, now in data you will find out named ranges or named functions, whichever one you prefer. Okay, now you can name ranges, whichever one. Now you can see this is the specific column which I want to name. Okay, now here what I'm going to do is going to be, let's say I'm going to just cut this off. Here I'm going to do is type in city. Okay, I'm going to click on done. Now this part is now termed as city. This range, okay, this specific range is now called city. Now what we're going to do is going to be using this range over here and then find out how many data is in the specific range. So I'm going to do is type equal, then I'm going to type in count unique, and then I'm going to do is select the specific, let's say I'm just going to type in CITY. You can see the data validation. I'm going to close out the parentheses and hit on enter. You can see 7. Why is there 7? Because I chose only 7 of them to appear up, and 7 type of things, or let's say there are 7 names of 7 different cities. So New York, Sydney, London, Houston, and San Francisco, Los Angeles. Okay, now if you put another name inside of this, let's say I'm going to put in Dubai. Now you will see it will turn out to be 8. You can see now 8. Let me put another name over here. Let me put like Preston. You will see it will turn into 9. So there are 9 different types of cities inside your specific column or your specific range of data. So this is basically how you use count unique function or count unique formula in Google Sheets. This is like quite simple to do. So hope you understood everything about this lesson from the beginning to the end. And if you feel like you didn't understand a part, please let us know and we will guide you through the whole process. Now, in our next lesson, we're going to be learning about the useful features of report design and use a couple of shortcuts which will make your work a lot more easier and efficient in Google Sheets. So let's hop on to that lesson.